what I love about what you did is you were able to take a lot of those leads and move them out. And this is where it gets really important in breaking down our 2800, because remember how I said we have two groups of leads, ones that we've never spoke to and ones that we spoke to. So what happens to the leads that we've spoke to, they are broken down into two groups. They are either worthy of a reminder or a follow-up from you because they've qualified for time on your calendar, or they have a situation that you just want to park them over for a later follow-up, and grouping all of those situations into that common denominator. And this is where I, go into the whole store analogy of, you have the aisles of your leads that are future opportunities, the ones that are lost opportunities, your future seller opportunities, and your situations, relocating, retiring, moving up, first-time home buyer. Once we have that conversation, we can move those leads. Or you probably heard a lot, nope, already purchased. Did you hear that one on your text? Yeah. So you can move all of those leads into already purchased. So now you're starting to segment your database into categories that make complete sense for future communication, because then you won't have to send out 3,200 messages, because you're going to be sending out 50 messages to the people that are going to be relocating. You're going to send out 150 messages to the people that are actively engaged that you've never spoke to. You're going to be sending out 300 messages to the people that lost engagement and they're not paying attention to the dashboard. And we can be very targeted within our communication. And what happens there is that is eliminating the amount of phone calls we have to make, because you're getting them to raise their hand to say, this is what has to happen for me to make a move, or I'm not moving at all. Because the whole game here is not making as many phone calls as what we have to make because of our shortage of time. And I saw a little, I'll call it a meme, but it was like a GIF the other day. And it was a real estate agent. He's like, find it funny in the days, in my days of crank calling, to now we're dealing with the robocalls. So it's kind of like karma's come back around, because we were like the 70s and 80s were like the crank phone call days. You watch The Simpsons and they have the, Bart calls at the bar. People don't answer their phones anymore. And they want to know who is calling before they take that phone call. And, it used to be through repetition, you could get them to answer the phone, but now they're like, block. It's way too easy to block a number now. So texting and email has become way more useful because people don't want to communicate with people they don't know. So by utilizing that, it's going to help decrease the amount of phone calls that we have to make. So with that being said, when we look at the text message that we threw out, when we get a really good text message that works and they don't respond, and you send the exact same text message a week later, we tend to overthink the process and we want to rethink our text. Well, reality is, if they didn't respond this time, they either A, forgot about it, didn't see it, or didn't care. So if you send the same text message a week later to the right group, you might catch them at a time that they can respond. And this is where it comes down to the mindset as well. Text messages go out when we're driving, when we're in the shower, when we're doing something that we cannot physically respond. And there's a lot of times where we see it come across on our screen because the phone lights up. You're like, oh, that's Joe. Joe wants to look at a home. Oh, crap, I can't respond to him right now, but I'm going to respond to him as soon as I'm done doing what I'm doing. And then boom, the fire happens and you're like, oh, I'm putting out the fire. You forget about Joe. It's 8 o'clock at night and you're like, it's too late to call Joe now. And then tomorrow happens and the next day happens and Joe gets forgotten. And the reality is that happens with my kids. My kids will send me a text message and I'm not in a position to respond. I'm like, oh yeah, great mom I am. So, we can't get upset with leads that do the exact same things that we do. They just don't respond because it's not a good time. So it's our job to be convenient for them.